Hello, are we live? We are live. Hi. Hi, hello. I'm always so nervous before starting these things. Welcome to the Get Your Life in Order live stream. How are you doing? Is anyone on the other end of this? Say hello. Hi. Profuse apologies to anyone watching this later because I'm always like filled with nerves at the beginning of these things. I'm literally shaking. Um, we are here to motivate, to get excited about getting organized. Hi, Ida. I was hoping you would come to this. Hello. How are you? I saw your Instagram post earlier today, and I was like, this stream could not have happened at a more perfect time, given like the academic stress and everything that kind of a new semester, a new year brings. So how are you doing? What's up? What kind of stuff are you trying to work on? What kind of issues maybe are you having staying motivated or getting organized? I can just start spewing tips, but I'd like to wait for maybe some people to join us, or for someone to ask any questions that they have. But otherwise, I can just ramble on my own as usual. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I have like a bowl of fruits at my side because I didn't really have dinner. I'm kind of jealous of you guys who are like going back to school because I don't have that anymore. And so I just feel like my life is extra like big of a mess because it's just like there's nothing to structure me. I have no readings to do. I have no assignments to do or work on. And I'm just having to set myself my own projects. And I feel like I'm a pretty disciplined person, but I don't know. It's hard when you don't have a measure, when you can't get a mark at the end of a class that says like, you've done well, you got an A, or you've not done very well. But the grade system in general is just kind of bullshit, and I don't condone how stressed it makes so many of us. So, hi, Nase. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Nice of you to join us. Ida says, yeah, I really need all the motivation I can get at the moment. I'm like, there's so much to read and do, and I'm like, how do I manage this? I relate so much. Throughout my entire undergrad, I didn't do half of the reading I should have done. And honestly, you don't need to. You just need to do enough, and you also need to know that your self-worth is not attached to what you do academically. Like, it's honestly perfectly normal to not be able to read everything because they assign absurd reading lists. It's like not physically possible to do that. I think one of the things that helped me the most is to remember that the time off that I take is just as important as my time on. And I feel like, especially you, Ida, I assume like you're a very like type A person, like you really want to get stuff done and you feel really good and you feel really like you get a lot of self-worth out of like checking things off of your to-do list, but you have to put like the stuff that like self-care on your to-do list as well. It can't always be like do the reading, and if I don't do the reading, I'm a failure. It's a lot about mindset as well. Like it shouldn't always be, you know, I have to do this thing or else I'm a failure. It can be, if I do anything at all today, that means I'm a success. And when you start thinking more along those lines, you really do start achieving more, which is so messed up because like it's a huge like mind twister because it's you want to be strict with yourself because you think that that's going to like get you to do more work, but honestly if you're more easygoing about it, you end up being more productive and feeling less pressure to be productive. And it's really like weird, but you are managing it perfectly fine, and it's totally normal not to read as much as you want to be reading or read everything that you're being assigned, because honestly they assign ridiculous amounts of reading. So you are normal, you are worthy, you are perfect, and it's a Sunday. Like, remember, this is a Sunday, okay? Sunday for me has always been like, well, ever since moving to this country, because Sundays used to be when I lived in Egypt, like the first day of the week. So Sunday was like Monday mood. But Sundays, ever since moving here, have been a day of rest. And I every time over the past like 2 years that I've tried to work on the weekend, I've failed miserably and I felt really bad about myself. And then I remember, like, oh, it's the weekend. Like, there's a reason that you don't work 7 days a week, because you physically cannot. And actually, in countries where they work even fewer days than 5 days a week, they have more productivity on average. And, like, I know the capitalist system wants us to be like, my self-worth is attached to how much I produce and how much like content I can make, or like how many assignments I can finish, or like when you enter, this is what university primes you for, to enter the workforce, to like be part of the capitalist system. And you have to remember that, like, that is not the be all and end all of life. Like, it's so chill if you don't get like top marks of your class. Like, it's super chill. So if you take anything away from today, even though it seems counterintuitive to like the productivity stream, to be like, it's super chill, don't worry about it, that's exactly the mindset you need to be able to feel excited about your work and then eventually do really well. So kind of reverse psychology yourself. Tell yourself, like, I don't need to do very well, but if I do well, that would be great. But like, low key, I don't need to do that well. And you will achieve the highest forms of success. I mean, if I learned anything, and I am like just simply rambling on because no one is using the live chat, so please use the live chat so that I have more to work with. But one of the biggest things I learned studying philosophy is that the good life, or our like standard definitions of success, are really skewed in society, and we need to define success for ourselves. So if success to you means meeting your goals, that's great, but set realistic goals, set achievable goals, set goals that have to do with your self-care and your mental health as much as you set goals that have to do with academia and kind of expectations of others. And you'll feel a lot better about your life in general, and therefore have more space and time and like energy to take care of the stuff that society tells you matters. And that's honestly what I wish I had heard in my final year of uni, because I was so stressed beyond belief. If you want to go watch my mental health at university, struggling with mental health at university video, you can go do that. I was like deep in it. And I was honestly using my work to avoid like dealing with other like deeper emotional stuff that was going on in my life. And I was just like, okay, let me work all day and do this thing like that, the university has assigned, that tells me that, I'm worthy, or I'm okay, or that I'm doing something, I don't know, measurably good with my life, even though like everything was falling apart. And sometimes you just have to build your life back up from the ground up, like figure out what your values are. Like, obviously it's great to have the value of like, oh, I want to do well at university, I want to do well at school. But once you leave the academic environment, you realize like, okay, but what else? Like, there's so much more to life. And it's really hard to find a balance. I completely relate to the stress, and it's totally fine. And you're gonna get through this, and everything is temporary, and you'll be perfectly, absolutely 100% fine. Like, trust me. But yeah, I'm sorry that you're going through it. I completely relate. Apologies. Okay, so I might as well take this moment to share with you my bullet journal. So I have, just as a preamble, like, I kind of like low-key hate myself for getting so into it now, because I was one of those people who would like lurk on kind of the bullet journal content on Instagram and YouTube and be like, what is the big deal? Like, it's a journal. Like, why is everyone making such a big deal out of it? And it's like a concept that seems really basic. Like, why on earth is everyone making such a big deal out of it? But I'm starting to really understand the value of like having a centralized system to organize everything. And especially as someone who's so like into this stuff, like productivity and planning and stuff. So I started to really get into my bullet journal, and I kind of made it into like the journal that contains everything that I need and or want or have thought of, or literally anything on my mind just goes in that journal. Everything except for poetry, which is like a separate journal. That's the only thing that doesn't go in the bullet journal. Literally everything else, like emotional stuff, finances, like, I don't know, goals, reflections, random ideas for videos or anything, everything and anything goes into my bullet journal. So it's pretty basic, honestly, because it's just like standard bullet journal. But I do have like a habit tracker that's really pretty, and I have goals and like a monthly spread and stuff. And I've been, I haven't been using it for that long, but I've started to customize it and started to like make use out of it. But one thing I noticed is that like setting goals and trying to meet them can sometimes like really counteract me living my life intuitively. And I really kind of want to stress the idea that like you should live your life intuitively. You should not like, and I don't want to be preachy, like live however you want, but in general, your intuition is your guide. Like if you're always kind of setting goals and then like always trying to meet them, sometimes your goals change, sometimes your feelings change, sometimes like your life circumstances change, and your goals need to change along with them. And on that note, there is a fantastic podcast like interview. It's like a video podcast essentially. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called The Ground Up Show. It's by Matt Diavella, and there was a really, really great episode. I really like a lot of the episodes, but especially this one about building habits. And Matt Diavella was interviewing the author of Atomic Habits, who talks a lot about like habits and lifestyle change and how to kind of achieve the lifestyle that you want, which is a lot of the ground up show in general. And so this one episode, I can try to find its name for you. Atomic Habits. It's the interview with James, and basically that in that interview he said this one thing that like has really stuck with me, which is like the difference between people who are quote unquote successful and people who are not successful is not about goal setting. Like goal setting is not the difference between someone who's a success and someone who is a failure, in massive brackets, hyphenated, whatever you want to call them. Because people set goals and fail, and people set goals and succeed. And so the contributing factor to success is clearly not the goal setting. So like what else is a factor in success? When you think about it, like as in meeting your goals, if success is just meeting your goals, like what goes into meeting your goals that makes, like what is that contributing factor of success? And essentially what he says is it's the systems in your life that kind of help you move towards your goals. So it's the habits that you set, it's the environment that you're in, it's the mindset that you have, it's the things that you practice day in and day out. So it's the overall average kind of things in your life that kind of you do to lean towards a certain path rather than necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? Rather than like setting goals and meeting them and just kind of, if you set like really high goals, then you'll have like a really high standard of living, as an extreme example. It's not about that. It's about, I mean, even if you don't really set that many goals, you don't even have to have a list of goals or anything, but you have like habits and systems in place, things that you do repeatedly, things that contribute to like your overall well-being, things that contribute to like your physical environment, visual cues for things that you want to be doing. So for example, if you want to learn how to play guitar and that's like a thing that you really care about doing, having your guitar out and there and accessible to you so that you pick it up more often, essentially. So the things that like the systems that are in place that kind of shape your life, that's what differentiates people who are successful from those who are not so much. And so I think that's something to kind of chew on, is like maybe we need to think less about like goal setting and writing lists and even though I'm a huge lover of all of those things, believe me, I am like I was literally just earlier today writing my like medium term and long term goals, because at the moment, like I said, I'm kind of in this free space where I like don't know what I'm doing with my life. But at the same time, I do know what I'm doing with my life. It's just about like building those systems so that on average I'm moving to in the direction that I want to be moving. And so obviously it doesn't really apply to the academic setting. And for the people who are watching the stream at the moment, for you guys, like if you want to tell me like kind of what context your life is in, if you've been stressed about something in particular, like I know Ida, you're kind of academically stressed, but maybe taking some time and building a habit that takes care of like your anxiety, for example, would really help you deal with academic stuff. And that was something that like I did personally when I was very anxious and definitely going through like some seasonal depression as well, in my last 2 years of university, which are, I think, were the years that like things started to get way more intense academically, like intellectually I was being pushed a lot and the workload increased a lot. In that time I like really focused on establishing a yoga practice, because I had tried to establish different exercise routines and stuff, but they were all really, really intense and weren't really helping my anxiety. But yoga, which is all about like breath and body and union and like being like super chill essentially, and kind of just taking care of yourself and showering yourself with love and care, and like all of those things really helped me deal with kind of the other stuff. Like you might not think that taking your mind away from your primary purpose when you're in an academic setting, you feel like your primary purpose is like to do the tasks at hand. So you might not feel like that's like taking your eye off that specific prize, like is the smartest thing to do, but honestly it can be one of the healthier things to do, and then it can eventually contribute to you having more energy to work on the stuff that you care about academically. So that might be an idea. But I don't know what else you guys are going through. So let me know. But yeah, those are kind of my initial thoughts on this whole organization productivity thing. Just like, yeah, like trying to take some time out and kind of reflect on what's stressing you out. If it is academic stuff, then maybe dealing with how to cope with that stress. But if it's something that you can just cut out of your life, like I highly recommend cutting that out of your life. I had a lot of like people that I would hang out with that weren't really giving me that positive energy, and it was very draining for me to hang out with them. And then so I was just like, okay, well then why are you still in my life? Like it's so much easier for me to do the things that I want to do if I don't have to spend all my energy on you. So and it can seem kind of brutal or unempathetic, but I really recommend that. What are your thoughts on that? This live stream's gonna end real fast if like no one says anything. It'll just be like a 20-minute video of me like being really stressed at the beginning, then saying hi to Ida, rambling on for like 15 minutes, and then it'll just like fade out into silence and awkwardness, and then I'll just end. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that Matt joins us soon, or maybe Matt is one of the third person who's just been silent this whole stream. Third person who's just been silent this whole stream. Please introduce yourself to me. I think, okay, I'm just gonna keep going then. Oh God. Social media can be a contributor as well. I think, once again, since Ida's the only person who's given me any kind of context, and the only person who I know any kind of context about in this stream, if you'd like to share, Nase or the other human who's on the other end of this, supposedly, maybe they just left their laptop or something. I think for you, Ida, like this is probably a contributing factor, which is like social media, and seeing how other people are being like productive and how their lives are so like happy and chill and like stress-free, even though they're doing all of these things that can like really get get to you and make you feel like something is wrong with you if you can't be productive every single day, if you can't get up at like 5 in the morning and like, have like an exercise routine and then like, go to the library and work for like 8 hours straight. And like, just for context, okay, first of all, I like struggle a lot with anxiety, especially when I was at university. I struggled a lot with anxiety, and so like that was always kind of the thing I had to deal with. The second thing is like I lost my train. The second thing is that I lost my train. I don't remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that like even though I might seem like I'm all put together, like I'm not, and a lot of the time I fall off of like my healthy habits, and a lot of the time. Oh, the thing I was gonna say is throughout my entire career at university, never once have I had a library like study session that lasted more than like 3 or 4 hours. I always lose my motivation after that point. Like it would always dip. And so like that's completely normal. And I think we need to emphasize breaks, like in order to be a productive and healthy human being, because the key here is like not just to be a productive human being, because that's just like putting you in that mold of like, oh, you should follow this like capitalist mold of what a good human being is. But being a productive and healthy and happy human being is to take breaks and to really make the most out of those breaks. So for me, that was always like getting in a yoga practice, like that would really like re-energize me to like be in the world again and to be at my desk again, especially when you're like day in, day out doing the same thing all the time. Hi, Michael. Not sure what to say. Just turned 61. I'm still looking for answers on how to be better organized. I get that. I mean, that's cool. You don't have to know what to say, but thanks for introducing yourself and like, letting me know that you're here. I really appreciate it. A lot of time I feel like I'm talking to myself on these things and I'm like, who even wants to hear me speak? It really helps to have like a back and forth. I was just saying that like you don't always have like organization is nice. Like I really enjoy it, like especially aesthetically, like having like a clear minimalist space and like, just having like my things in order, my files on my laptop. But that being said, like I am not an organized person physically as much as I want to be. And I'm definitely not an organized person digitally. Like I am a freaking like disaster digitally in terms of organization. Have been watching a number of videos on minimalism lately. There are some really lovely videos by a YouTuber named Leffy. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're here too. So I will look up this Leffy. I really enjoy the minimalism content by Matt Diavella and by Nathaniel Drew. Those are two like YouTubers that I really, really enjoy, like just watching their content about minimalism and productivity and organization. And I was saying earlier before you joined, Michael, that one of like the kind of the best things that I watched recently was a podcast interview of Matt Diavella with someone called James Clear. I always forget his name. I always think his name is Daniel for some reason. James Clear and Matt Diavella were talking, and James Clear is an author of a book called Atomic Habits, and he talks about, and Matt Diavella is all about like minimalism, and so it was really interesting to hear them talk about that and about creativity and about like the writing practice and talking about like kind of the idea that goals aren't like the be all and end all of success. It's a lot more to do with structures and habits and systems in your life that kind of on average get you to do what you've wanted to do. So you could set like really high goals but still fail. But if you have kind of systems in place that more or less have you facing the right direction at least and moving in the right direction, no matter how like slow or fast that is, you'll eventually get to that point of success. And so that's one of the reasons like I'm really kind of, I try not to be so strict with myself, but I have like a very strong desire to have a consistent upload schedule and to have a consistent writing practice and to have a consistent yoga practice and to just have consistency in my life, because having systems in place just really helps feel like it might not help you feel like you're always doing what you want to be doing, like having a daily goal and then failing to meet like that day's goal can sometimes like you feel like you're a failure, but then at the other time, uh, uh, in another light, like that's actually what's getting you to where you want to be. It's not always setting the right goal. It's about like setting up the right environment and having the right kind of um, navigation system, if you want to call it that. So Ida asks, how do you tackle implementing new habits? I feel like it's so hard sometimes. This is a great question, and I really recommend that podcast for this topic if you want like a really in-depth kind of view, and maybe even read the book Atomic Habits. And there are a bunch of books written on habit building and stuff that I've heard about recently. So you could check those out. But I mean, in my experience and like what I use to kind of tackle new habits, I actually wrote a little note to myself about this in my bullet journal, and I have a video coming out about this in a few days, so I don't want to spoil it too much. Not in a few days, what am I saying? Soon. I filmed it, but it's going to take me ages to edit on a new, like I just started editing on Premiere, and it's stressful to learn something new. But my kind of 3 hacks for how to like build habits is to have like a really good reason that's super motivational for you for why you want to do the thing, because our brains are lazy and our bodies are lazy, and just the human setup is not made for kind of being disciplined and being really like having a lot of willpower. I feel like, you know, we have this ideal vision of ourselves as like these ultra rational, ultra productive, ultra like incredible humans, and a lot of the time we're just like average and lazy and don't want to do stuff, and that's totally normal, and that's literally in our biology. And like we need adrenaline. Like there's a reason like the adrenaline makes you like focus and be able to do amazing things, because we've been built for like a sense of urgency. Like there's something evolutionarily where like if you're being attacked, you'll run away, but you don't want to run to exercise. Like the whole concept, okay, I'm just going off on a tangent, but stay with me. Like the whole concept of exercise is literally there because we've kind of eliminated the food chain. We're no longer threatened by like beings that are attacking us and putting our lives in danger. And so we're getting fat, we're getting lazier, we're getting like just unhealthy diseases because we don't have anything that's like kind of forcing us to survive. And so we have to do these like really difficult things like exercise, whereas like the environment that we were put in at the dawn of time, that was the environment to keep us like in healthy shape, depending on how you look at that. But like having a really, really good reason why you want to build a habit is like crucial. That's like the foundation of any habit building. So for me, like I literally hit rock bottom before I started practicing yoga daily. Before that point, I was like, meh, like I could do it, I could not do it, it doesn't really matter. And then I was in the worst place I'd ever been in my life. And I was like, okay, I actually need to take this thing seriously. This is what's going to help me. Like, this is what has been helping me, but I just need to like make that extra effort and just do that every day. And that's the only thing that's going to get me out of like that crippling anxiety and depression. So that's being honest with yourself and being like really like having a really good incentive for why you want to build a habit. Huge, huge like foundation to any kind of successfully building a habit. Hello, sorry for bad English. I love your username. Nice of you to join us. Thanks for saying hi. We're talking about building habits and how goal setting is not always the best way or like the measure of success, but it's actually like having systems in your life and like thinking more holistically and thinking about mindset and thinking about how all of that contributes to success or productivity. But like, you know, all of that with the kind of undertone of the concept of productivity has been like a capitalist kind of mind control thing of like making us feel unworthy if we're not being productive. So underscored like disclaimer of this whole thing, you don't have to be a productive human to be a worthy human. Like you are worthy just the way you are. You don't have to do anything for you to be absolutely wonderful, amazing, fantastic like person that you are. So but another way to like hack habits in a way is to set a time that you want to do the habit. So like having like a very specific time that you do it. For me, it's the morning because it's like that's when I want to do the thing, like, or that's when I have the most willpower to do the thing. That's when I'm least likely to forget to do the thing because it's like, oh, first thing in the morning. So first thing in the morning every single day in my bullet journal, I have yoga. Like that's literally the first thing. I try to do that. Some days I don't do that, but then that whole day is like my first task of the day was a failure in a way because I didn't do the thing that I intended to do. And so of course, there's a whole mindset around it. Like I try not to feel like a failure, but I do just feel off when I don't do the thing that I intended to do first thing in the morning. And then finally, to track your habits. I think that's kind of really, really important because having a way to know if you're on a streak is really incentivizing. So if you know that like at a certain point, like when I had done like I think 50 days of yoga last year, I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to break this streak now because like I don't want that. I don't want to have to work for another 50 days to reach that 50-day streak and then get that 51. I'm going to get the 51 tomorrow. And so like the longer you build the habit and the longer you keep up the streak, the more incentive you have not to break it. Someone else I really love who talks about productivity and habits and stuff, and you probably heard of him, is Thomas Frank. He's fantastic about this stuff, and he always has like really great ideas. And to give credit to him, he came up with a whole set a specific time of day for it. That's his thing, and he's super right about that. And he's one of, I think, the most successful examples of people who have systems in his life that keep him on track rather than kind of just setting goals and like trying to use like self-discipline or willpower or all of these things, like all these concepts that we're sold as if like, oh, you just don't have enough willpower, that's why you're not successful. But it's like, that's not true. You are naturally, biologically a lazy human being, and you need a system in your life to allow you to succeed or move in the right direction rather than like, I don't know, this like concept of willpower. Sorry for bad English asks, just throwing a question. What's your idea of success? What would that look like for you? That's a really great question. Thank you for asking that. It's actually a very difficult question as well. I think my idea of success is just kind of like living a life that where on a daily basis, I feel fulfilled. I don't feel like empty, or like empty in a like super existential way. Like I think it's normal to feel empty on every now and then, but to feel like I have somewhat of like a purpose, or at least that I've contributed in some way, I think being surrounded by people that I care about and kind of having interesting conversations, growing intellectually, moving towards kind of my goals, which a lot of them are personal rather than like career or academic or things like that. Like all those things are nice, and I think it's cool to like kind of climb certain ladders, such as academic ones. But I think the value that they hold, and a lot of people put value on them, like that's much higher than they actually deserve. And then it makes people, like I keep mentioning in the stream, like it makes people feel unworthy if they don't meet that kind of standard. And so I think that my idea of success will always evolve, and I might never attain it. And I took a whole course last year called The Good Life in Ancient Philosophy. And the whole idea, it was like a Stoicism course. And the notion of a good life was very much like remaining present and mindful and focusing on what you can control and letting go of the things that you can't control, because that's like one of the biggest triggers, I think, for anxiety and for depression and for feeling like you don't have control in your life. It's just like you're always focusing on the things that you don't have control over. And when you focus on things that you do have control over, that's when you kind of are living the good life, because you're not as stressed and you're not as worried and you're not as discontent. And I just want to ask this question to everyone on the stream right now. Like, what is your notion of success? Like, what kind of, is there like a milestone that you think you'll achieve and then you'll feel like a successful person? Or is it going to be kind of a lifestyle? Because I think for me, it's much more like lifestyle based rather than milestone based. But I mean, I just imagine myself in the future as like a super zened out, chill, yogi, poet, philosopher, who just like, I don't know, like lives in a completely self-sustaining community or something. Like lets the world erupt in flames around this like tiny like utopia, but that's not a very realistic goal, and it's definitely not a realistic kind of lifestyle goal, just because I don't know. I feel like there's I always kind of lean towards like, oh, like being a monk or being a living in this like self-sustaining community would be so nice, so idyllic, so like chilled out, and I would love that. But at the same time, I think I would feel a little bit of a burden and a responsibility to like society at large, like the fact that I'm not contributing to it, the fact that I'm not trying to help it out, like I feel like that would kind of hold me down a little bit. But it's, oh man, it's so hard because we're literally born into this world and we don't have any control over that. And then now we're here and like we get to decide and we learn morality and we get schooled for so long. Like I'm one of the main reasons like I'm really hesitant to like continue academia, but like at this point, honestly, it's too late. Like one of the reasons I'm hesitant to have a child or to put that child into education if I have one, like is because we school them like literally like indoctrinate these tiny beings that know nothing about the world, and in large part I have already been indoctrinated, but it's just it's unethical to some degree. Like some of the stuff that we tell children is just problematic, and like I probably can't even tell you exactly what that is because I'm already convinced of it myself because I've been in school for like however long, or I have been. I mean, now I'm out of it, but it's literally like it's too late for me. Not to give anyone extra existential crises because, as Sorry for Bad English says, currently in my mid-20s existential crisis, I think what I'm really trying to find is my place in society and something that gives me purpose. I only have a vague idea of what that would look like. Hope to find it soon. I get you. I mean, I'm in my early 20s existential crisis phase, and very early 20s existential crisis phase, and that should be the name of a band. But you make music, don't you? What is actually your name? Sorry for bad English, because as much as I love your username, it feels really weird to refer to you as that. I'm sure that you want to tell me, like, or you want me to refer to you normally, but on your point of like, okay, trying to find a purpose and trying to find something meaningful to do, and I completely get it because that's exactly where I'm at the moment, where it's like I feel like this gives me purpose, and I feel like writing poetry gives me purpose, and I feel like doing these other stuff. Online, you go by Daisy. That's awesome. Okay, that's really cool. I don't know if you maybe no one here is kind of part of this fan base, but I don't know if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is like a Marvel show, but Daisy is like a character on that show, and it's like also a flower, and it's a really nice name. I love that. Okay, so I'll call you Daisy from now on. Ida says, I think success for me would be doing stuff I love and being able to sustain myself and feel happy. I could not have said that better myself. Yeah. But that's again, this leads to my existential crisis, or like relates to it, because I feel like I already am doing stuff that I find really meaningful, but I am not sustaining myself, and I'm still working on that happiness thing. But again, going back to like trying to find something that gives us purpose in the first place, like a lot of people don't have that, but I think we put a bit too much pressure on like our job to fulfill like everything, like to find like a creative job, or to find a job that we find that we love, or that we just want to like find work that you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or like quotes like that just really misrepresent the kind of concept of like what it means to sustain yourself and what it means to have time to do stuff you love. Like you can be doing something of like a full-time job that sustains you, and then spending other time doing things you love, or you can work part-time at different things. And there's so many different ways of life, and I think there's also like a way of life that is you don't earn that much and you just live really, really, really like simple living. And I really want to experiment more with that and like figure out like what is the least amount of money I can possibly spend while still living a lifestyle that I find like I'm content in, and then seeing if I like, I don't know. I just feel like society puts a lot of pressure on like find a job that you love, but then we also put a lot of pressure on like find a relationship that fulfills you in all of these different ways as well. And it's like, calm down. Like we can, you know, we can be in process. Like I feel like being in a 20s existential phase is not a phase. It's life. Like life is an existential process, and we are constantly changing our minds about who we are, about what we want to do, about what we enjoy, about what kind of stuff we want to try, about what gives us purpose, about our values, and it's always just going to be a process. And I think that's like we just have to enjoy the process. I think success for me would be like enjoying the process of finding myself, of finding my purpose, of like finding a way to sustain myself and feel happy. Because as much as it would be nice to like reach that goal, I think it would be even nicer to enjoy the journey, as like cheesy as that is, towards the goal. Those are my thoughts. What else? If anyone else, I mean, it says 6 people are on the stream. What are your ideas of success? Like, do you have any other thoughts on success or on creating habits? What kind of habits are you trying to build in your life? Like, Michael says, I don't know if that existential crisis feeling ever goes away completely, but it can be useful in keeping you moving and evolving. Your mileage may vary. Like, that is so wise. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, you've got 40 years of experience on me, and thank you. Like, that really puts weight behind my point. And also, I didn't think about that, about it being like a way to keep you moving and evolving. I completely actually, now that I do think about it, agree with that. Because I mean, earlier, I think it was like a month ago or something, I had just come back from a trip, and I basically got home, and I was like so tired from like moving and doing all of these new things, and like it was very kind of wonderful but kind of stressful experience. So I came home and I just like potatoed. I was just like in my hermit like zone, because I tend to do that. I tend to just like need a lot of time to unwind and stuff. And for the first few days, like I actually wrote in my bullet journal, or just in my journal, like I've been doing too much. Like I just need a break. Like I need to just take care of myself, and in an attempt to be productive, I lost track of my self-care. And so I was like taking care of myself by not doing anything and just like chilling at home and watching Netflix and like eating what I want to eat and just like relaxing and not like putting pressure on myself to do anything. And then literally like within the span of like 48 hours, it went from like, this is the best thing ever, I'm so glad I'm taking this time for myself, to like, I feel so bored. Like I need to be doing something. Like what am I doing? I'm wasting my time and I'm a failure. And like, I was just like, it went from 0 to 100 in like a split second, or like in 48 hours, because even when things around you don't change, and like change can be a very traumatic experience when like something in your life happens and it's out of your control, and it's just like, it's a change that happened externally. Like even when everything around you is exactly the same, something inside of you changes, and something inside of you forces you to evolve and to change and to keep you moving and evolving. And it's beautiful, but it's painful and it's confusing, and it's always, always, always happening. So yeah, thank you for sharing that is the case. But what about, I mean, Michael specifically, but anybody, do you have any like coping mechanisms for how to deal with that like existential feeling, and or how to feel kind of more worthy, or I don't know, feel more secure when you're going through that like stress or ambiguity or confusion? For me, I like to kind of practice gratitude, something that yoga taught me, but also something that I learned just like last year separate from yoga. And it kind of it helps you just keep stock of what's going on in your life, that, you know, things might seem bad, but ultimately there are still good things in life. Uh, there's still some positivity to be experienced, and also that like everything is a contrast. And you know, I think that the ancient Chinese philosophers had it way more right than the ancient like Greek guys. um, Specifically like after Socrates, like I think a lot of them kind of went off track and they started to think that like there can be answers and there can be right and there can be wrong, and there, you know, there's like a correct and an incorrect. And I think a lot of the time, it's a lot more of like paradoxes can coexist, and the yin and the yang is like kind of an ancient concept, that is so true, because you have to feel empty to feel full, and you have to feel lonely to feel connected, and you have to feel like, you know, all of these confusing feelings are kind of, they work in unison, and they work to counterbalance and counteract, and um, they work to fill up the experience of life in all of these ways. Um, but I feel like I mean, I don't know that we have, I don't know what you guys think, but have we gotten off track from the organization productivity stuff? I feel like I came into the stream hoping to talk about this stuff because the standard narrative of like, how we should be, like how we should be productive, how we should be organized, how we should kind of spend our time, really it perpetuates a lot of like mental health issues and kind of existential feelings and feelings of like unworthiness, and I wanted to kind of counteract that with this live stream, in a way. But at the same time, I'm super happy to talk about like lists and calendars and calendar apps and all of that stuff. If anyone also wants to talk about that, like feel free to kind of join the chat and let me know, because I mean, we've gotten very philosophical about like just the concept of productivity. I don't know what else, I mean, is to be expected from me at this point. I've kind of built a reputation for being a very philosophical person, but you know, and I am, but at the same time, we can be like just kind of simply nerdy and talk about the simple stuff, the nitty gritty of like what it actually means to sit down and to do the work or to plan, if you guys want. Michael says, I'm still a work in progress. I'm open to ideas, eager for them. Part of the reason I'm watching this. Fair enough. And that's like, again, the perfect example of it's all a process, and we all are still evolving no matter how old we get. Like everyone is on their journey and the mileage may vary, to quote Michael. And yeah, I think honestly it's a lot about mindset, like to be kind of, at least to I think a lot of us, okay, give me a second to gather my words because I don't want to, I'm getting a bit tired. Essentially, we can look at people from the outside and we can feel like they are the model of success. Like I definitely look at some people online and I'm like, you guys are like where I want to be in 10 years. Or sometimes I think like you guys are where I want to be in 5 years, but that's an unrealistic goal. And I have to kind of check myself. But at the same time, you have to remember that like we are looking from the outside, and when you're on the inside, it's a lot more complex, and it has a lot more to do with emotion. It has a lot more to do with mindset. It has a lot more to do with motivation, and like keeping yourself afloat is a huge part of the process of like being a successful, like productive member of society or whatever. It's just making sure that you are happy and that you are healthy, and that you have to prioritize those things over the other things in order for those other things to kind of successfully happen. And yeah, I mentioned an interview in my August favorites, which is a Patreon exclusive like video that I make. So Michael, you will have seen it, but it's an interview that was by by, again, I don't remember who interviewed her, but it was Elizabeth Gilbert talking about the art of being yourself. Um, and in it, she mentions like she literally, like, her full-time job is taking care of her mental health, and then like her part-time job or her hobby or whatever is being a writer, even though like the majority of her income comes from writing, and that should really be her top priority. Her actual top priority is just making sure she's okay, writing love letters to herself when she's really, really down, making sure that she feels grateful, that she is always kind of present and mindful in the moment, and trying to kind of bring her mind back when it wanders into like the dark places. And I think building like a creative like hobby or outlet is really, really helpful for mental health stuff. So I don't know what kind of creative outlets you guys have. For me, it's obviously poetry, but sometimes I mean, I've never been very good at playing music, but I wish I could be, and I wish I spent more time on that skill, because I think it's just like the most universally connected form of expression. Like, it's literally like it speaks to your soul, doesn't require like words or language or other systems that are flawed or imperfect. And uh, so if you play an instrument, it would be a wonderful way, like that would be a wonderful thing to do when you're stressed or when you feel like you're not being productive. Like, spend some time playing music or listening to music, or reading something just for fun. Or if you have a lot of reading to do and you really don't feel like reading anymore, then like watch something. But I think I would recommend like playing music, or maybe like solving a puzzle or something like that. Like, that could be really helpful, because it's still using your brain in kind of a focused way, but it's not being so like focused on, I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm not, and so I'm a failure, and like perpetuating that negative thought pattern. Because I definitely feel like we all need to work on our self-talk. I watch a lot of Anna Akana. I don't know if you guys watch her, but she talks a lot about this, and I mean, she's one of my resources when I need some like therapy, and I haven't found my therapist yet. She shares a lot of her tips that she's learned from therapy, and a lot of them are like, counterbalance that self-talk, talk to yourself like you're your best friend. Like, you wouldn't kind of chastise your best friend for having a bad mental health day and not being able to do their work. You would tell them, it's okay, you've got all the time in the world, you'll be fine. Like, your self-worth is not attached to what you create or produce or kind of do of your assignments or read or any of that. Like, you are a worthy human being regardless of any of those things. And that's how you talk to your best friend, and that's how you should talk to yourself. And for some reason, we are terrible at talking to ourselves in healthy ways. So I think we all need to work on that. I mean, I definitely do. But I definitely recommend having a creative outlet for moments when you feel really stressed or anxious. What else? I mean, something I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that I'm going to repeat is just like, take weekends off. Like, Ida, today, like, you just should not be working. Like, it's a Sunday, chill the fuck out. It's perfectly fine to take the Sunday off. Even if you have reading like for Monday, like, I don't know. I just think university is kind of set up to like make you feel like a failure regardless of how well you're doing, because I honestly felt like I was not doing that well all of last year, and then I ended up with a first, and I honestly don't think the first was worth all the stress. Like, I would very happily have, I feel like I would have been more stressed if I wasn't aiming for that, like the best that I could do, you know? It's weird. I'm sure it has something to do with like the kind of family that I come from, and like the values that I've been raised under, and once again, like society's indoctrination of our minds. Past me and future me, these are the people worth having a conversation with, Daisy says. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could talk to my future self. I can only ever talk to my past self, and like, she can't even hear me. But I guess we can imagine what our future selves would say to us, especially like when we're going through a moment and we're like we think it's the end of the world, and then we remember like, oh, in like 5 years, this is literally not going to matter at all, and I'm going to completely forget about this moment. That can be helpful. What would you tell your past self or your future self if you could? Hmm. Me just waiting for you guys to respond is like the least entertaining thing ever for future people watching the stream. I'm sorry, future people watching the stream. I'm still learning how to stream. I've Hi on mushrooms. I wrote a letter for future me. Oh my god, Daisy. What did you write? Like, what did you say to yourself? That's so funny. I'm so curious. I would love to read that letter. I can link the whole thing if you want. Yes, please. Oh my god. Was it like super enlightened? Like did you just like access like another level and you just had all the wisdom and then like you came back down to earth after the trip and like retained none of that information, so you're lucky that you have that like physical letter? I feel like that sometimes. I feel like there are moments where I'm like, I am like super zen and enlightened and I have like reached spiritual um I don't know, but and then I'm like back to being human and completely lost. I tried to stay humble. Okay. Yeah, you know, I'm actually the most humble person in the world. It's one of my favorite jokes. Another one of my favorite jokes is have you heard what the oh my god, no, I'm gonna ruin it. Have you heard about the game between the sea and the shore? It was tied. Oh my god, nobody else is laughing. I bet nobody else found that funny, but I love it. I love puns. Oh my god, there's this amazing okay, I'm getting completely off track because no one is responding to the question. I even forgot what it was that I asked. Oh, what would you ask or what would you tell your past self and what would you ask or want to know from your future self or what would you tell your future self? Very dad. Yes, puns are very dad-like jokes. But I mean, I still love them. Um, there's this amazing Instagram account called Postmodern Paul, but no, I'm thinking of a different one actually. And there was this one I can't even. Oh, I think it's the guy who makes those like alien. You know what I'm talking about? Like the alien cartoons that like talk about everything so literally. I don't know his name. It's like Nathan something. Nathan W. Pyle Strange Planet. So it's like the Strange Planet kind of cartoons. You know, like I don't know if you can see. Okay. These ones. Yeah. Okay. On his personal account, he has like such a hilarious like series of jokes. Imagine pleasant nonsense. Yeah, exactly. Or like, I crave star damage. That's me, like every day of the year. I'm like, I crave star damage. Um, he has like the funniest pun. I love it so much. Try to find it. Wait, I sent it to my sister. I know it's a big no-no to like use your phone on a stream, but come on, like this is gonna be so worth it, I promise. Okay, is it here? No. Here it is. Okay. Okay, let's see. So it's two ants, and one of them is like, so is this a date? And the other one's like, no, it's a fig. And they're sitting on a fig and they're eating the fig, but it's like, is this a date? No, it's a fig. I love it so much. Yeah, okay. Sorry, guys. Went on a bit of a tangent, but you know, like sometimes it's okay, and sometimes social media is also positive. positive influence in life. I don't know. Literally, one of my goals of this month is to use my phone less. And so I've been tracking how much time I use my phone. And it's appalling. It's appalling. Like, I think for other people, like it can be worse. Like, I know some people who, like, on average will use their phones like 6 or 7 hours a day, like every day. I think that's like much worse than, like, using it for a few hours every day. That's like slightly less. But when you just, I don't even want to, because, okay, so it's my habit tracker, right? And then at the bottom, I have like the total number. And so at the end of the month, I'm going to add up all these hours, and that will give me incentive, hopefully, to use my phone less. But on the 2nd of September, I used my phone for 6 hours and a half. And, like, I just spent all day on my phone. And then the next day, I, like, turned off my phone and, like, I didn't use it at all. So it was very, like, going between extremes. And I only used it for 20 minutes. So that's not bad. But, like, on average, I use it like 2 hours a day. That's way too much. But then sometimes I'm like, but that, like, me using my phone that day was like, I don't know, looking up, like, on Google Maps, like, where I'm going, or I don't know, like, talking to a good friend. Like, sometimes, like, those 2 hours are really well spent. And then other times it's like literally mindless scrolling, and most of the content that I saw that day was like not even worth seeing, and I could have been reading, or could have been like doing something more useful with my life. But it's literally my second priority goal. It's just spend less than 2 hours on my phone every day. And I've only met that goal for 2 days of the last 8 days of the month. So gotta work on that. Michael says, guy goes up to a Buddhist hot dog vendor and says, make me one with everything. He goes up to a Buddhist hot dog vendor and says, make me one with everything. I don't get that. Wait, why don't I get that? Guy goes up to a Buddhist hot dog vendor and says, make me one with everything. But, like, what would be on it? Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. I, like, didn't get that joke. But thank you for sharing a joke. I mean, did someone else get it? Did someone else on the other side of the stream laugh? Because I feel bad now for not laughing. Because I don't really get it. What would be on the make me one with everything? Is that the joke? Is, like, what would be on that? How would a Buddhist even be a hot dog vendor? Wouldn't they, like, renounce all hot dog vending? I don't know. I need to, I think, in my bullet journal, integrate, like, a make me one with everything equals enlightened. Yeah, I was thinking that might have been the angle as well. Is just, like, give me everything. Like, give me all the knowledge, or give me all the wisdom. Okay, cool. Oh, make me one with everything. Oh my god, I just got that. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Delayed reaction. Make me one with everything. Not make me one like a hot dog. Oh my god. Oh man, I'm so sorry it took so long. People watching the stream later are just like, wow, you're not as smart as you look online. No, that's a great dad joke. I'm gonna actually tell that to my dad later today. Oh, I'm so sorry it took me so long. That's actually really funny. I was just so confused about how a Buddhist could be a hot dog vendor. Make me one. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I was about to say, like, I want a section of my bullet journal to be like favorite jokes, because I watch so much stand-up comedy, and I like scour the internet for funny, like, content, and I never remember it, and, like, so I have nothing to, like, pull out in a social situation when I want to make a joke. In German, Daisy says, we call this Sickerwitz. It takes a while to sink in. Yeah, that's, I don't know if, let me look that up, but that's really cool. I mean, I kind of, Sickerwitz. Is that like a slang term? An actual Sickerwitz? Is Witz with a V as well? Like, is it pronounced like that? Takes a while to sink in. I think it would have, like, sunk in if I heard it. I think the fact that I read the joke kind of pulled me out of it a bit. Witz is a joke, sicker is sink in. Ah, that's so cool. You speak German? Where are you from originally? Also, don't forget to send me that like letter you wrote yourself on shrooms. Like that's hilarious. I really want to read it. You're Austrian. That's so cool. Do you live in Austria? Um, See, now I kind of feel like I want to tell you guys more jokes, but I honestly, like I said, I don't keep my my jokes on hand in my mind. No, no, no. Chat doesn't allow me to post links. You could send it to me on Instagram or I don't know if there's a way to message me on YouTube. Okay, wait. Let me try this. If you just like, I don't know, tell me where it's at. I mean, if it's online, because you're sending a link, I can look it up. It says there are 8 people on the chat right now. If you're new to the stream right now, if you're just joining the stream now, please let me know who you are and like what's up and what kind of why you came to this Get Your Life in Order stream. The nice way of saying what the actual title is. Ellie Young, I'm gonna call you Young. Eli, maybe it's Eli. Eli Young says, I really like your review on being in nothingness. Thank you. You're welcome. Fun facts about that review. I was studying Sartre at the time, and it was like, you know, on my mind. But I really, really never expected that video to become like so popular. And it was like not, I mean, when I made it, I was like, that's not a good video. I mean, that's not going to be, definitely not going to be one of the best videos I make. And then it turned out to like, you know, turn out really well. But maybe we can learn a lesson about this, guys. Like the things that you maybe think you shouldn't put so much effort in because you're not going to pan out in the long run might be the exact things you need to focus on. That's kind of been the moral of the story of this stream is like, you know, focus on your mental health, take care of yourself, and you'll have more energy to put into the productivity, organizational stuffs. Okay. There are more people on the stream at this point in time, amen, than there have been this whole hour, and I'm actually going to leave soon, but if you have anything else to say, on the topic of organization, on the topic of existential crises, on the topic of jokes, then leave them in the chat now because we're leaving in like 10 minutes. So, oh wow, man, there's a lot of people. See, now I feel bad that we've been going on for so long before anyone showed up, but I don't feel bad because me and Ida had essentially a conversation of me kind of just talking at her. Sorry, Ida. What do you do, Eli? Where are you from? What's up? Let me get to know you. Also, Daisy, you didn't leave anything. You just said like without the spaces and then hope that works. And then the message was retracted. So I didn't actually, wait, hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, without, oh no. Okay, there's something called, okay, let me just look this up because I think, yeah, let me see. Okay, is it a link to Reddit? Because I think I found it. Eli says, hi, I'm from the Netherlands. Nice to meet you. I love the Netherlands. Nice to meet you too. Awesome. Okay, wonderful. I found it, Daisy. Thank you so much. I will message you somewhere about that when I have the time to read it. Have I read Archetypes? I've not read Archetypes. I don't know what that is. Is that like Carl Jung? I've heard of that, but if it's like a novel, I've definitely never heard of it or read it. Do you guys have any like recommendations for productivity, like books and things like that? I mean, we've strayed so far from productivity at this point. I feel like we might as well just like talk about anything for the next 10 minutes and then say goodbye. Yes, It's Young. I have not read it, but I have heard of it. And would you recommend it? Is it any good? Why do you like it? Why do you enjoy it? Why have you mentioned it? What made you think of it? Yeah, if anyone has any like dad jokes they want to share, this is the exact time. I can actually pull up right now the messages that my dad sends me, which are literally the most dad jokes ever. Let me see. Oh wow, he hasn't sent me a joke in a while. It's really weird. Oh, for example, when I moved out of the house, I was like, oh, I moved all my stuff successfully because he was away. And then he sent me this, which is Schrodinger's emoticon. And he thinks it's really funny. And I also think it's really funny if you know anything about like Schrodinger's cat and the whole theory of uncertainty. It's pretty funny. My internet is lagging, so I'm like half a minute after all the time, but I want to say I really enjoyed the advice and even made some notes. Oh my god, thank you, Ida. I'm glad that you've found something useful out of this, and it's super cute that you made notes. Like that's the most Ida thing I can think of when I think of you, because I'm always like on your Instagram looking at all the like productivity like stuff, and I'm super glad that I said something that resonated with you, and I hope that anybody who was watching at the time, or maybe if anyone watches this later on, can find something useful out of what I said, especially about like self-care and not hating yourself for not being a productive human, because I mean that's like the moral of this live stream essentially. Album cover, yeah, it would be a cool album cover, I think. Oh man, I just want to read Daisy's letter right now. Like, I'm like eager to end the stream to go read it. What are my thoughts on Jordan Peterson? I don't have thoughts on Jordan Peterson. I heard his name so often in my third year, and I honestly never had like time or energy to spend figuring it out. And I want to read his book and figure out if like there's anything about it. I think a lot of people really appreciate his like rationality and the way that he thinks about things, and I would like to have a more nuanced opinion, but I literally have no opinion because I just never had the time to spend to care about his opinions. But I mean, he seems to have started something, a movement of people. Maybe he, like, I don't know, converted some alt-right people to be more central, and that's kind of cool, but I don't really have opinions about that. I read 12, Daisy says, I read 12 Rules. I'm gonna be honest, it's not good. Fair enough. I mean, I'd have to read it to have my own opinion. Again, I don't want to pretend like I know anything about him. I've literally never even watched like an interview. I just never had the time, and he was never like a top priority for me to like think about in my daily life. It's like very basic self-help stuff with some Christian conservative vibes. Thank you for the summary. That's a very concise way to put it, I guess. Eli, would you agree with that? But yes, clean your room, boys. Fair enough. Yeah, he's connected a lot with like men than women, I think. He's like rallied the troops in a way. And Eli says, I like the lobster part. Haha, makes sense. The lobster part. What's the lobster part? I'm going to look up Jordan Peterson lobster now. It says lobsters help to explain why human hierarchies exist. You're like a lobster. What? This is so weird. Okay, I'm gonna have to go on a bit of a tangent about that. I agree very much. So Peterson is the lobster daddy. All right, that's what. Thank you guys for teaching me that. That's really funny. Have you guys seen The Lobster? You know that movie? That's a really cool movie. Really weird. I was just before streaming watching like these interviews with like directors and actors and stuff talking about different movies and projects they've worked on. I just love the interview format, and I love listening to people who are kind of masters of their craft, like discussing their craft or just any kind of level of their craft and discussing their craft. And someone was talking about the director of The Lobster, who also made, his name is Yorgos Lanthimos. He made The Favorite recently, and I really want to watch some of his other movies because that is a super weird movie. What is it about? It's about like kind of it's okay. It's about like a center where people go to find their like quote unquote lobster, like their other half. There's like some. It's basically magical realism. Like it's set in the contemporary world, but there's just like this one weird thing about it where people are kind of assigned a partner, and I think if within 1 year you don't like vibe with the assigned partner, then like you both die or something trippy like that. Yeah, the guy who made Dogtooth, that's the one. So I really want to watch Dogtooth, and I am very curious about his other movies now that I don't know, he like just sprung to mind again, and I recommend that movie. I think it's a good one. It has that actor in it. What's his name? Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz. I don't know. It's really hard to remember like names. Black Mirror-ish. It is sort of I think he just the concepts that he uses in his movies are really trippy. Really like tormented and dark. But what was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say. Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna go. I was gonna make one more comment about this lobster thing, but I mean, go watch the movie. Let me know what you think of it. Good luck. I was hoping to like this stream would like kind of, I don't know. I don't have like anything to do on Monday tomorrow, but I assume a lot of you will have to go to work or go to school or something like such as. And yeah, I was hoping that this would just kind of motivate you to feel good about yourself, even if you haven't been the most productive human on the planet recently. It's totally chill, and being a potato is sometimes really beneficial. So that's kind of the closing remarks I would have to say. But thank you so much for joining me and spending like an hour and 20 minutes with me and sharing your really hilarious joke. Michael, if you're still here, thank you for the hilarious joke that I completely missed for like a full 2 minutes. I was like, what does that mean? But it's super funny. Hi, Rod. Nice to see you too. I'm sorry you're joining at the end of the stream. I'm saying goodbye now. But hi. Hi and bye. Yeah, thank you so much. And good luck feeling productive or getting organized. And I love you all. Oh, thank you, Daisy. That's very sweet. I'm really excited to read your letter, and I'll find a way to contact you. I don't know if you're on Instagram, but I'll message you if you are. And yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys. Thank you. See you soon. Goodbye.